Hi, Krystal. Nice to see
Hi,
you. How's it going?
nice to see you too.
We're still
Let's,
Oh, go ahead.
I'm trying to because I'm not in my regular podcast studio. I'm like at a
Right.
friend's house. So I'm trying to figure out how to prop my phone. I don't even have a microphone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound fine.
Okay, cool.
And the picture looks pretty straight on.
Is it? Okay.
Uh,
Hopefully it'll
Chris is
stay.
Chris isn't here yet, so let's give him a few minutes.
Yeah, sounds good.
How's your day going?
Pretty good.
All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Camp Elasticity, the podcast. And with us tonight, we have Homegrown Monsters author Christopher Noel and Kelley, a UFO AP researcher and proven adventurer in the field. How's everyone doing today? Everyone having a good day?
It's been a little hectic. I had a electricity crisis, but I want to say she's a proven adventurer.
Well, that's a phrase I heard on a podcast she shared with Whitley Strieber the other day.
Wow,
And the first
proven.
thing
Well,
we're
I'm
going to talk about
I'm
actually is
excited.
her adventure to Puerto Rico. And I know you have something to say about that geographical area in terms of collection of slag, perhaps, for formation of vessels, perhaps. But
Perhaps.
let's have Krystal open the conversation here and let us know what you're planning in Puerto Rico once you arrive.
Yeah. So I initially went to Puerto Rico working on a project called Universe on Earth, where it was a collective dream that the group of us had had, and we all wanted to explore the universe as it is on our Earth right now in this dimension, and we all had different interpretations of how we were going to do that, but we did know that we needed to go to strategic locations on the planet, and one of those locations was Puerto Rico. And it's the southern tip of the Bermuda Triangle. And when we went there, so I'm a water activator. And when I went into the water off of Rincon the first time, I got a I got information. It just happens when I go into certain bodies of water. It can also happen like putting my hands under a faucet. Even but it's spontaneous. And I got the message that this is a strategic location, and it really hit home to me that there's a lot more going on here than I have time in this small little project to even get into as
Right.
much as I want to. So that was about a year ago when I went, and now I'm moving my entire family to Puerto Rico. And
Wow, that is dedication.
yeah, we're in the
Mm.
middle of our move right now, and we're traveling with our cat. I have a black cat. And our
Mhm.
daughter, and all of our belongings have already arrived in San Juan,
Right.
but we're kind of energetically getting there. We need to sell our house in Seattle, and puts us in limbo a little bit. So we're staying at our friend's house in Austin while he opens up a food truck that he's doing here. So just trying to give that energy and do something
Mm.
useful while we're kind of waiting, basically. Um, but on Wednesday, we're flying to Puerto Rico, and the executive producer who of Universe on Earth that kind of initially pulled me there. She's a colleague that I've known for about 15 years. And she bought a house in the meantime and has a guest house. So we'll be moving into her guest space and wait till we find our place there. But those are just the human elements of what we're doing. This is like the pull that brought us there is somewhat, I'm going to say, spiritual. It's kind of a soul mission that something I've always known, that I've been drawn to these to certain areas, and this one's pulling me harder than any other has. Usually I just travel to these locations and I'll stay for maybe a month, but this one really deserves a lot of tension. I think there's a reason why the Bermuda Triangle is a lot of times, let's say in media, propagated as a fearful place, because I think there's a lot of reasons why it might be easier to not have massive quantities of people in these high energy places. Because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of dimensions interweaving. There's portals that open. There's an entire universe like at your fingertips that communicates, that is very much there, that I'm excited to get to know, like to befriend, I hope, and really work with this new interaction of different dimensional capacities on Earth that is really unprecedented in the human history that we've been taught. I think it's always been here. We're just tapping in. So I don't know. That's a
You
little
don't think
bit.
that you don't you're not subscribing to the view that the ancient people had more of a full relationship with the mysteries than we do in the modern era?
Oh, I think absolutely
Oh,
they.
I thought you said it's unprecedented. Okay.
No, I said unprecedented in the media propagation that we're told.
Oh, okay.
Um, my background is TV news, and so I don't. I I see how news works, and I don't buy it. I haven't since I walked out of the news station in 2003 or two. I've never watched the news again. I'll see snippets on social media or something, but it's different than subscribing.
That's how I am about the news too. I think it's probably a sensible pattern to follow. Now, Chris, before you jump in, I know you have an issue with the use of the word dimension. You prefer densities, different densities to different dimensions, and I think because you believe that it would be scientifically impossible to perceive a different dimension. Is that it?
No, I have no idea. I can't speak to whether it would be scientifically impossible to. It's just that when people say interdimensional or they come from another dimension, I don't feel like they or those who are hearing them has any kind of a clear idea what that would actually be. It sort of seems to be a stand-in concept or a band-aid concept.
That's fair.
Just that's just my opinion, and I can totally be wrong. Most people think who are into this stuff think there are other dimensions. So I'm in the minority. I understand that, but I'm
You
going
don't,
with
you don't
John
even believe
Keel.
they exist, huh?
Hmm?
You don't believe other dimensions exist? Or maybe
Uh,
you misspoke.
no, I say I don't. I feel like talking about other dimensions, unless we can say more concretely what we mean, is just sort of um,
It's like a catch-all.
spitting in the
Oh,
wind conceptually because we
yeah.
don't know.
Can I
Yeah,
say
please.
how I
Absolutely.
perceive it?
Yes.
Is I perceive it as frequencies. So each dimension has uh vibrates, I guess is the best word, at that frequency. And then there's infinitely amount of frequencies and above and below where we exist as humans. Um and so I think that as humans we're kind of kept in a lower frequency, so that they're, our perception is limited. But as soon as we start raising our frequency and we start tapping into those things that are embedded into our DNA, that we're kind of programmed not to know, but we can reprogram ourselves. And that's where really water comes in for me. Is water has been like the greatest teacher that I've ever had. And so I think it's something close to source that is divine about water. And so that's how I describe dimensions, is just
Yeah. I
frequencies.
I think we're on the exact same wavelength, so to speak.
Very
I think it's
similar.
just it could be just a semantic issue of how we use the word, because
Yeah, probably.
to me the frequencies are frequently overlapping. And so
Yes.
dimensions makes it seem like it's another place, whereas I think it's all one
Right.
place.
So
And,
I always think of like, like when you're shading colors, and
mm,
if you're
yeah.
really good at shading colors, like you can't tell where orange stops and yellow
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
begins because they're like kind of like this. And that's exactly how I see these frequencies because they bleed into each other. You know, like I can't tell you how many times I'll be standing somewhere and like out of the corner of my eye or something, I see something, but then I look and it's not there. But
Yeah.
I don't think that I didn't see that because my brain didn't make up that image, you know, but then when I actually go to look with my physical eyes, it isn't, I can't see it.
So it really was there. It was there, and so are the other dimensions. And my only qualm about using that word is that it sort of implants in people's mind that it's another place rather than the same
Mhm.
place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So densities to me is more appropriate because it's about, you can imagine like solids going to liquids, going to
Yeah.
gas, going to
Yeah.
plasma, and
Plasma. Yeah.
we just like go up the hierarchy of frequency and lower density until, and when we die we go up to lower
Yeah.
density and higher frequency, and
I
so
don't,
but it's not another place, which is why we can interact with our dead loved ones sometimes. If they were
mhm.
in another dimension, I guess you could say then they come to this dimension. It's a matter of how we prefer to talk about it, you know. I think it's
Yeah.
all one. I think it's all one vast here and now.
Hmm.
That's always been my interpretation of the dimension syntax, but I guess it might not be for a lot of people. So it's good to be precise, and it spares people the hard work of explaining what they're talking about. I suppose if they just say, "Ah, it's another dimension,"
Right,
but to
exactly.
actually get to
It
the
can be
nuts and
just
bolts.
a sort of an opt out of the tougher
Hmm. A
labor of trying to
configuration.
comprehend what it actually is. I feel the same way about behind the veil or the other side.
Same thing.
I feel
Yeah.
like they're so the modes of being of consciousness are so interpenetrating that it's a veil makes it seem as though there's a barrier, a real objective barrier, whereas it's really just a state of mind. It's a mirage, and we can transcend the quote unquote veil if we're in the right frame of mind with the right intention, and we can raise our vibration. So it's not really there if you know, it's only there to the extent that we put it there.
So let me give you a plug, Chris. Here's your new
Hey,
book,
look at
Homegrown
that.
Monsters, Chris Noel. And I come to this whole thing out of metaphysics. I come from the idea that all is one, all consciousness is one. So I appreciate the semantic value of challenger consciousness, which reminds me of John Keel and Jacques Vallée. John Keel has a book called The Fifth Element, which is very similar to your thesis. And then Jacques Vallée talks about, oh crap, I can't remember his catchphrase, but
The
but
control
challenger
system,
conscious. What's that?
feel like the control system,
Probably, yeah.
something
That
like that. Yeah.
consciousness controls, or maybe that's John Lilly. I've read so many books.
Yeah, it's all blending together.
Just to give Krystal a little background on your perspective, um, and I'm curious how your years of Bigfoot investigation led you to UAPFO consideration, or was that always part of your oeuvre of consideration?
Well, that's a good question. I spent about 17 years very in a tunnel vision pursuit of learning more about the Sasquatch species. And finally, in 2022 or 21, I managed to film one, and that was sort of the peak experience. And then I've always been interested since I was a kid and had a ghost experience encounter, a protracted ghost encounter. I've always been interested, but it's been on the back burner. And so once I kind of hit that um, high watermark in my Sasquatch field research, I decided to circle back and expand the aperture to include Sasquatch and spirits and then UFOs and quote unquote aliens. So that because I think it's all it all shares a common denominator, which is consciousness and different forms of consciousness. And
Sure.
so I think that Sasquatch as a collective people is has a higher consciousness than we do. And is able not necessarily to phase in and out of our visibility band when they're alive, but when they die, I think they can come back and materialize and manifest themselves more readily than our own kind of spirit or consciousness can. And so I think that may be why a lot of people think of Sasquatch, even when they're flesh and blood, as being interdimensional. But I think that they're a flesh and blood animal that then, once their spirit leaves that flesh and blood, it's not so difficult for it as it is for us to return to the earth plane.
I remember the first conversation we had in Vermont about Sasquatch, and I think I probably used the word interdimensional because I had heard this thesis that, you know, why can't we find any evidence? Maybe they're just kind of coming from somewhere else and going back there. And you said I've seen no evidence of that. You just kind of wouldn't
Did
entertain
I?
the idea.
I was a jerk
Um,
even back then.
But in reading Homegrown Monsters, and I've read most of it, but not all of it, it doesn't seem like Bigfoot shows up. Or does he? Is he in the beginning?
No, I very carefully kept him out. He's in an earlier book about consciousness called "There Is No Veil." Not a surprising title, given what I just was saying. And he said Sasquatch gets a whole long chapter in there. But no, I hope to come back to and push my understanding further of the Sasquatch people in a subsequent book. But this was just about aliens, and I put that in quotes because I don't think they're from another
Sure.
planet, as you know.
I always say UAPFO, you know, because they're just changing all the names all the time, and it's
Yeah.
all unknown unknown territory or unknown country, as Whitley Strieber puts it.
Yeah, he does. Your audio is fluctuating up and down.
I'm sorry, I've had that complaint before.
Oh,
I'll project. I'll try to
okay.
project more boldly. So there's a lot of UFO stuff going on the higher level at the moment with Eric Burleson. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
It's you're a little low.
Little low,
Okay.
that's right.
Well,
There,
I
that's
saw
I
I've
mean, and
got
you could look at us when you're talking to us.
no, because I've got the camera is on a string. See, it's not even part of my screen.
Okay, I should stop kibitzing.
So it's coming at me from the side. And I
All right.
apologize for that.
Okay.
But so what do you guys think? When I first discovered you, Krystal, Kelley, I think was on a podcast about drones, and there's a lot of
okay.
interesting coverage of the drone mystery in your book, Chris. Let's talk about that. Is it still going on? And what does everyone think about the drones? For my part, I wanted to believe that they were UAPFOs, and part of me still does. And there's so much that's unexplained that I really want to. But I watched the thing yesterday, offering a far more prosaic explanation that they're just spy craft. It's been going on for years. And the frightening part of it is that the military bases apparently lack capability to track or really do anything to these drones. That's just a capability gap, they described it as. But I'm interested in hearing both of you tell me what you think is going on with that drone mystery. And it's a race.
Krystal, it's your turn.
Okay, sounds good. So first of all, I want to say that the word drone is like lumping a whole bunch of different things into one thing. And so I think there's a multitude of things going on here. I do think that there is an increase in drone activity from, say, DOE or DOD. A lot of times I think that intergovernmentally, the agencies are not good at talking to each other on purpose. And so I think that there's a lot of this, in my mind, stems from the DOE. The Department of Energy has the most to protect, I guess, for itself, to stay alive, to keep Earth's grid in control and not be lit up naturally like it can be. So there's a lot at risk there, and they've increased their their capabilities and their surveillance because they feel a little threatened, is my theory. There's also going on these, I call them plasmoids, these orbs, these conscious beings that are also watching. They're interacting. The first time I saw an orb was in 2010, and I was sitting meditating kind of on a log looking over the Puget Sound, and the water was like sparkling in the sun. And after a while, like the sparkles, it almost seemed like they were starting to materialize, like, and the water is like far away. I couldn't even throw a stone and hit it. You know, it was like at least 4 blocks in front of me, if that makes sense. But it was as if these sparkles were like coming at me to where if I reached out, I could touch it. And this iridescent ball of light kind of came up and was right in front of my face, and told me more things in 2 seconds than I thought I could even absorb, like at all. It like it completely changed my world. It changed the trajectory of which way I was going. I even ended up like getting a divorce. Like it just, I completely like changed my whole worldview changed after seeing this interaction with this orb. And when it was done, and like I said, it was like 2 seconds. This was not a long thing. I was looking at the water for a long time, but the interaction with the orb was very quick. And once it kind of gave me this information, it went out and split in two and went two different directions. And I was like, wow, we all have the choice of what direction we're going in. Like half of that went one way and half went the other way. Like, which way am I going? And I literally ended up going on what I called a sabbatical. And I went and moved to the Pacific Ocean, right on the edge of the ocean. And for probably 6 months, every day, I walked along the shore of the ocean to the point where I felt the 2011 earthquake in Japan before the night before it happened. Like, I literally felt it. I felt the earth move. I was like, whoa, whoa, there's going to be a big shakeup. And the next morning I woke up to the news that, and that was one of the first times I learned I needed to trust my intuition, because I used to, before that, think, how would I know that? Or that's just, I don't know. I just didn't trust it. But since then, when these like thoughts or things come into my mind, I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. I need to listen to it and make a decision for myself, because we always at every moment have the decision to go one way or the other. So either way, that's a really, to bring it back to the drones, is that I think there's lots of things going on here, and there is a lot more activity between densities, let's say, than there usually is, because I think more and more humans are becoming aware. We're all able to see these things. We're, as far as like in our physical makeup, in our geometric structures, we should be able to see these things, but a lot of us aren't, because we're programmed not to. So so this is just a eye-opening, let's say that. And the programmers are starting to feel like maybe a lot of people are going to open their eyes. And
I mean, the human programmers or the
yeah,
NHI programmers?
the human programmers.
Okay.
Yeah. Not necessarily in favor of humanity at all. Like,
No, not necessarily. No.
I just want to be clear, because like, I
Right.
know that like, you know, crystal clear. There's a reason that that's a saying, it's like, words are messy. I much more prefer the way these dimensional creatures communicate. Like I said, in 2 seconds, I got more information than I ever could have learned out of 100 encyclopedias.
Did you try to write it down, or was it so kind
Mhm.
of ineffable that?
I did try to write it. I started writing a lot, and I started writing like, and I'm not like a math person. I'm not a math person, but I don't study mathematics or anything. I
Mm.
even started writing equations down that I was like,
Wow.
what where is this coming from? At first I thought I was writing a sci-fi novel because I I've always I went to school for journalism, and so I've always been into writing and reading and all these things, and so I thought, oh, cool, I'm writing a sci-fi novel. I think what I realized as it was happening that I was channeling,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, and I was channeling information that I needed, maybe for myself, maybe for others, but just information that I needed to know. I don't know.
Boy, I envy you. I've never gotten anything like that. It's wonderful. If I found myself writing equations, I would be so shocked. The last thing, but then I would know for sure that I was downloading and rather than contributing it myself.
I
Wow.
mean, I think what's really wild is a lot of them are incredibly simple. Like, so much, like, I feel like we complicate things a lot, and a lot of things come down. So I'll give you an example of one of them is that it was an equation of 1 plus 1. And I know it's going to sound really silly, but I wrote down that 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 1 is 0, 1 plus 1 is 3, 1 plus 1 is infinite. Um, and I probably wrote down 21 plus 1 equations and then
Wow.
a description of why each one is true. And
Nice.
I was like, I think I've been taught math incorrectly.
Yeah.
Um, I don't believe that everything is so finite. Um, so you know, I don't know.
That's
And then
that's so interesting.
Mhm.
shapes are a big part of it too. Geometric shapes. And that comes back to those densities, those frequencies. Each one is a different shape.
Mm.
Do these
And
shapes manifest in water?
oh yes,
Wow,
absolutely.
that
Yep.
makes me think of sound creating shapes in sand.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
Exact
wonder if
same
they
concept.
would correspond probably.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah. So like even our voices are resonating a shape or
Mhm.
form. And that's why when we speak, we can make things happen. Um I don't know. There's a lot. But
It's I know it's so hard to encapsulate some of these things because you're only going to scratch the surface, and unless you have a what's the word? It's a receptive audience. They're going to say what? But I'm just thinking. I'm sure there's enough behind what you're saying to make it make sense, and so I'm
For
accepting it
sure.
and
Well, I'm
fascinated.
enjoying it because a circle is measured beginning anywhere, and any angle you've got leads right to the center, and it's a comparison of perspectives on this circular, mysterious reality that we're all in. So what is everyone, and let me just say, I've been writing spontaneously since I was 16 years old, and that is the core of my faith in the ineffable or the immaterial, and it just has never let me down. It's hard to communicate to anyone else as a reality who hasn't had the same experience, but it's absolutely how I learned to trust my intuition. What does everyone think about Three Eye Atlas?
Wait, I didn't get my shot at the
yeah, you
orbs,
didn't get to
at the
explain
drone,
Oh,
drones.
I'm
I want to
the
sorry.
hear
And
it.
let me
drones.
say, yeah, the plasmoids. And I've seen film that definitely convinced me that they're more than just drones and that there's definitely some morphing going on. Uh,
Yeah, I watched a lot of those too, Zach, and I didn't want to be too eager to accept it because it's hard to tell whether you're looking at a front on headlight
sure.
versus an entire orb that then grows wings and stuff. But I've seen now enough of them that I'm pretty well 92% persuaded that they do morph and that they are plasmoids. And I've only recently, I don't know, Krystal, how long you've been knowing about plasmoids, but I only recently have come onto that and realized that, I mean, I'm working my way through this book.
New Science of Heaven.
Wow.
Oh, that's the big thing. You got to pick it up. It's all about plasma and how we have underestimated the centrality of its role in our reality. It's really
Thanks for
good.
the tip.
Yeah, and so I think that, I mean, I don't think I'm going to find disagreement in this group, but consciousness is independent of the physical of the what we consider the physical world, the dense
I
physical
agree.
world, and it can inhabit and animate matter in our dense world, and plasma is part of that. It's less dense than any other form of matter, but it's part of what we know as matter within our scope of understanding and experience as embodied humans. And I think that consciousness can embody plasma just like it embodies us, each of us, and embodies any living creature and embodies nature in so many different ways. And I think that these plasmoids, as they've come to be called, have been seen by space shuttle astronauts and other astronauts. John Glenn reported them back in 1960, whatever that was, 60 or 61, and they they behave intelligently. They play together, one absorbs another. They have battles sometimes, and they are curious about us up in the upper atmosphere when we encroach upon that realm, and they're also coming down here to our level. And I think this is why, plasma is highly charged ions and atoms that have lost their electrons, and it's a highly charged sort of cloud of these particles, and that's why I think so many quote unquote supernatural incidents cause electrical disturbances, and why spirits. I think that okay, I'll say this and then I won't babble on too long, but I think that when we see ghosts or spirits of our loved ones or any spirits, I think the way we can see them is that they've taken on some of this plasma. Plasma can be in various colors and various distinct, it can have a distinct visual form, just like the northern lights and the southern lights. And I think that consciousness, the consciousness of like Uncle Harry can grab some plasma, embody it, animate it, come down to the living room where he used to smoke his pipe, and we can see him in front of us. And the lights will flicker because plasma is a highly charged matter. And I think that they can only last for a few seconds before they fade away because it takes a lot of energy to keep that form together. And I think that's also why we often feel cold in the presence of a ghost, or there are cold spots in a haunted house, because plasma up in the upper atmosphere, which to them is no distance at all, but to us is a long distance, um, is cold. It's cold up there. And contrary to popular belief, plasma is not always super hot. There's something called cold plasma, which is it takes on the ambient temperature. So when it's 70 degrees below zero in the upper atmosphere and a plasmoid comes down, it's still cold. And I think it plunges the temperature in haunted houses for that reason. All right, end of soapbox.
So do you think that the Challenger consciousness and plasmoids are one and the same, or is plasma a separate animal from the Challenger consciousness?
Well, I should tell, just for Kelley's sake and for the audience's sake, we got to define our terms here. And in my book, just for the sake of argument, I propose that the aliens, quote unquote, are arise from this other sort of consciousness besides our consciousness, other than our consciousness, which has been here perhaps as long as our consciousness, but it is definitely other, and it needs something from us. It's got a narrower bandwidth in my proposal, and it can embody and show up in the form of reptilian, insectoid, humanoid, quote unquote aliens, but it does so only by using the raw materials of zoology here,
Right.
because I think it's vanishingly unlikely that insects would evolve to look like our insects on another planet, and that reptiles would, and that humanoids would, and all that much more impossible to conceive that all three would from a single planet, or that then even more impossible to accept that multiple planets could have multiple sources, could be multiple sources of extraterrestrial visitors, and that they would all look pretty much like our life. I think this kind of consciousness can embody um, animals, and they're different kinds. There are different kinds of animals from natural animals, but they look like them because they're using some of the same anatomy and DNA and you know organic material, and that they can also occupy plasma and become plasmoids. But plasma
Mhm.
is very plastic, or
Elastic.
elastic is a better word. Yeah, it can be embodied by any number of conscious
So
agents.
plasma is more of an element
It's
than
like
a.
more malleable. Like you have different, like metals, and it's like very malleable. It's like,
Mhm.
it can take
Well,
any
plasma can be made up of any kind of
anything.
atom, so you can have
Exactly.
material,
Okay.
mineral plasma. It's harder to to make it in the laboratory, but it can. I think that consciousness is powerful enough, especially when it's a hive mind like these aliens seem to have, that they can perform what's also known as psychokinesis, but on a grand scale. Like we individual humans sometimes, we're gifted enough, can move
Sure.
a pencil across a table, but they can create entire craft in addition to creating organic beings, and they can fling the craft across the heavens, across our skies, because they are much more proficient at psychokinesis than we are. I think they can do that, and so they can control plasma, and they can control any matter they can control, just like we can control it with our minds. But what we do is child's play compared to what they're able to do, I think.
So
I also, just to like kind of piggyback on some of the thoughts or just comments that pop into my head while you're talking. um I believe there's so many different things going on here. uh, the plasma, like how you were talking about it being cold, I think is also a different, there are different levels, or I don't, there are different, let's say it's like a spiral, different parts of the circle that these plasmoids can be on. And because I've had experiences with, I would almost call them spirits. I know when I first, it's like it's a being that appeared that was so warm and beautiful, and but not of a shape, but kind of took a shape, like it was, I would say, a humanoid shape that this being was, that came to me, that and and spoke telepathically, but I couldn't touch. There's no being able to physically touch, but like there was communication, and I saw it, whether it was in like my eye or my mind's eye. I saw that being, and I knew that being. It was a familiar being. Had a lot of interactions with beings like that, which I call them illuminated beings. um uh I experience them in usually high mountain areas where, like when I went to Siberia in Russia in the Altai Mountains, I experienced these beings, which also is another really active place for, they call them Almas, but they're Sasquatch people.
Right, right.
And when they speak about the Almas, they're like another family that lives down the road.
Yeah.
And,
But the
so
Native Americans mostly speak of Sasquatch.
exactly. And
Yeah.
I was with a Navajo wisdom keeper on that trip. And so
Oh,
we were having these conversations about, Sasquatch and the Almas, and these different things being guardians of the planet, to take care of our Mother Earth. And and also different density. We can't always see them, but it was interesting when I came back from that trip. I just Googled Almas because I had never heard of that term. I literally thought they were like a community of
Sure.
people in the mountains,
Oh, like
and
wild people, but not Sasquatch.
yeah, and so then I Googled it and it says a mythical creature.
Yeah,
And
of
I'm
course
like,
it does.
no, it's not.
Of course it does.
And so I don't know. Um but to go back to like the densities and then so these are the kind of plasmoid densities, but then I've also encountered physical ish beings that I thought were semi robotic. I didn't necessarily think that they were like natural, if that makes sense. But I think it's because they kind of flick in and out of like how we can see them, and so they just seem real jerky in their movements. But
Mm,
I don't think they're really moving that way. I also think they move very fast,
mhm.
and
That's what
those.
Whitley Strieber says. Yeah, that they
Yeah,
move
and
really
that's
fast.
when I realized after like talking to Whitley that what I was experiencing with those are grays.
Yeah.
And they do work with all these other beings, but they're very different. And reptilian beings, I when I was in Egypt and I went to Dendera, it's a temple where there's like
You've really gotten around.
it's yeah, well, like he said, like I feel these pulls and I go, I want to find out for myself what is there, why is this.
I would say you are a proven adventurer. I made fun of that phrase in the beginning. Was this all since 2010?
Yes.
Did you not have these encounters with these beings when you from childhood, or was it all
Well,
just?
I did, but I was programmed not to remember them.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I it actually started they started kind of waking me back up in 1996. But I think, the programming's real and I just didn't believe any of it could be,
You
and
know what this reminding me of? Thomas Campbell.
mhm,
He began having out of body abilities when he went to the Monroe Institute in the 70s. But in doing that, he started to remember his childhood tutelage at the hands of some of these beings that he also had been programmed to suppress.
mhm.
Exactly the same thing.
Yeah. And so I think, my journey has been like a remembering, just learning all the different locations that I go to. Um, I remember a different aspect of what I'm doing. I don't know, or what I am.
What your mission is that you
Yeah, what my
chose
mission
from
is
before your
exactly.
birth.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Um,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
well, there was, my mind went blank because when Chris was laughing about how much Dendera. I wanted to finish telling you my reptilian uh communication because I think it's important for people to hear this. Um because I think I believe so when I went there, and when I was walking around in the temples, I didn't wear shoes. I walked bare feet because it's the easiest way to get more communication and to connect myself with the earth or even any water that's in the earth or just my surroundings because shoes kind of slow us down a little. And so the second I stepped off the bus and put my foot in the ground, I got this like download and it was not all reptilians are bad. And I was like, well, that's
I didn't even
strange.
ask that. You said I didn't even wasn't even wondering.
Exactly. I'm like, well, okay,
Okay.
okay. Like that seems really defensive, but
Yeah.
okay. And then
Defensive.
as I'm walking through this temple, I'm realizing that this temple was built by reptilians. And I was absorbing all of these like information that these reptilians had embedded into this temple. And really they were showing us astrology and they were showing us they gave us a lot of good and useful tools that we need on earth. But I think there's a lot of them that are bad.
Yeah.
But I also think not all of them are because I have since I've kind of opened my mind to the idea that okay, maybe I'm not going to just block all this reptilian energy. Maybe I'll open up to it a little bit. I have met some reptilians that I am pretty sure they're good, or they're really good about acting good.
Yeah, that's the thing. How can you ever tell?
I think that a lot of times these things come like telepathically, you know, and you kind of know when something's good or not. But there's also shields and veils and all sorts of
Yeah,
things. So
yeah.
it's a complicated universe that we live in.
Gosh, I'll say. But
It's
my
complicated, but also simple.
well, 1 plus 1 equals all sorts of different things, but it still just boils down to 1 plus 1.
Hmm.
Well, Zach, I have a feeling I have a precognition that you're going to ask about Three-Eye Atlas.
Well, I had changed my mind.
Oh,
I
you
mean,
changed your mind. Shows how much I know.
eventually I will. But you know what I wanted to ask was, of the three of us, who was in Gifted and Talented? I was.
Oh, did
um,
you get? Oh, go ahead.
oh, I was at school. Let me just say, I graduated with a 4.0 from high school, and it was very easy. And I graduated cum laude from University of Washington with a double degree in communications and international studies. And I actually considered continuing on with my education because it was so easy. And I thought, oh, that's, but I started to realize that it was a system I didn't want to
Hmm.
propagate, I think.
Hmm.
And so that's why I merged into media. And I eventually went out of legacy media. I still work in media, but in a
You're
completely
working in
different,
media right now.
exactly, completely different capacity. Like,
Yes,
not,
exactly.
I'm not producing news anymore, but not fake news anyway.
Right. Zach, I think what's behind your question too is, um,
Yeah,
did
the
I
reason
wasn't in it, but did you get these tests where they try to probe for psychic abilities?
it's possible, you know? I mean, I was 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old. I remember we made a thing out of cardboard with mirrors in the corners. We made a viewer out of cardboard, folded up together, was shaped like that, and had mirrors in every corner so you could look into something and see something far away because of the mirrors. That's the prominent memory I have. But it's an important part of my life that has always stayed with me, my presence in the Gifted and Talented program. And you have proposed that perhaps this was a secret like induction program to train and imbue children with psychic abilities.
Well, it's not me. I do include that in the book, but I'm getting it
Yeah,
from
well,
these various authorities who have looked into it. And Ross Coldhart is keeps promising.
interesting.
He has a lot of reporting that he's done and research that he's done, and so he's delivered these very pithy and unsettling little paragraphs verbally on his shows that
Wow.
a lot of these kids were put through traumatic experiences in order because trauma is known
Sure,
to, in some
trauma-based mind
cases,
control, yeah.
elicit psychic
Um,
functioning, like when you can dissociate the self from its normal uh, format or whatever, then you can release, you can un unlock some of these inherent capacities that we all have. And so the Gifted and Talented program has been seen by many as, at some level, a pretty pernicious
oh,
program to recruit psychically, what's the word? Not just gifted, but psychically really proficient
but,
individuals to later work for the government, because throughout these last many decades, it's become more and more clear that consciousness is at the center of this whole phenomenon, the larger phenomenon, and also the specifically UAP phenomenon. Um, and that in order to interface with the other consciousness, and perhaps even in order to what do you call, reverse engineer and
retrofit.
functioning some of these craft, you need consciousness. It's not just a nuts and bolts or technological issue. So, you know, I have some at the very end of my book about how this use of children seems to, in some sense, parallel child sacrifice that was done way back in the beginning of civilization, where it seems that the deities that old groups of humans had were perhaps the same consciousness that we're um, dealing with today, and that they wanted child sacrifice so that they could try to experience death through us, because it's a whole other part of my hypothesis, is that they're not a natural creature, they're manufactured, these grays and the other kinds, and they can't be born and can't live a natural life, and they can't die a natural death, and for some reason that prevents them from transcending after death the way we can. And my whole thesis in the book, though it could be 180 degrees wrong, my proposal is that they're after what we have, which is they think of the soul as being a thing that they can get, which is why they do operations on us and mutilate cattle and mutilate people and take our genetic material and create little fetuses. They're trying to piggyback on our form of life. They're trying to become human, to merge with us so that they can have a wider bandwidth of consciousness like we have. But in truth, the soul isn't a commodity that they can get. I think they're
Right.
just simply wrong about this, that instead of the soul being in us, each of us is in the soul, which is a much larger uh, uh, entity, for lack of a better word, than the little us that's talking today with our little mouths and our little awarenesses.
That's
Um,
exactly. Oh,
yeah, so I think they're just trying to co-opt this larger uh, version of existence that we happen to be lucky enough, privileged enough to have been born into.
I feel like we're both focusing on each other in the wrong way. Like whether or not we're all one, we might all be one, but like they're trying to re-engineer the soul connection, back engineer the soul connection. We're trying to back engineer their craft. So it's like we're too focused on the material, they're too focused on the spiritual, but they've got a material approach and we've got a spiritual approach to the material. It's just all wackadoodle.
Well, I wonder, like, this reminds me of the moon. And I'm curious, before saying any comments about Three Eye Atlas, I kind of want to say like what I believe the moon is, because I think that the moon is a tool that is used to regulate our waters, and in turn regulates our hormones, our
Water.
natural rhythms on Earth. And that tool was manufactured by uh, not a source entity, by a very high level, as far as like consciousness, very, very high consciousness, but such a high consciousness that it requires being fed, because we all need fuel of some sort. And so they really masterfully created the moon and slung it into Earth's orbit to kind of feed off of the happenings that happen on Earth. And we are a part of that system.
That's
um,
what Gurdjieff
and
says.
and very like very much as we are all one, because we are also all part of the natural order system, which is not that system. um and so when thinking about these other interstellar objects that are flying through our space, like Three Eye Atlas, um, it has a consciousness. It has a mission, just like all of us do. And so, what that mission is unknown. And I'm going to say that if the news keeps following it, they're going to make people
Sure,
fearful of it.
of course,
Uh,
they're already trying.
they're trying, and
Yeah.
in a way I kind of laugh, because why not why not learn a little more and let's see what it actually does.
Mhm.
Maybe it's here to intercept this moon mission finally here. I don't know. I don't really know exactly what it is, but I do believe that it holds consciousness and it's being propelled by some sort of energy, whether that's a plasmoid energy, whether it's a nuclear energy, whether it's, I'm not, or
Does it
maybe it's
feel,
water. Maybe
does
it's
it
propelled by
feel
water.
benevolent or malevolent to you
Um,
intuitively?
like intuitively, I'm not scared of
Mhm.
it.
Okay.
I am not scared of it at all. I am actually really excited. I feel like I've sort of been waiting like maybe my whole life for this to
Yeah,
come to start happening. Um, I think there's much more to come than just Three Eye
yeah, of
Atlas.
course.
Uh, yeah.
I just
So
think
it
we don't know enough. I don't have the kind of confidence in my intuition that you do about yours, and so I can't say. I'm a little nervous about I must say. There's this
Well,
there's this YouTube channel called The Angry Astronaut. I don't know if you've come across it, but he's a he knows a lot about aeronautics and space travel, but more and more he's talking about UAPs and issues like that, because of the increasing prominence of it. And he's really smart. And he just this morning has a new thing about what we're learning, just new about Three Eye Atlas and how much stranger and stranger it is, and how it lacks the characteristics of a comet, even though the mainstream science keeps saying, "Oh, shut up, you idiots! It's just a comet." So if you want to become more intrigued or more alarmed, but based on
thanks.
based on your constitution, you can watch
well,
the Angry Astronaut is the channel.
so I wrote it down. I will watch
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
I one thing I was gonna say is that I do believe it's a change agent, and that can be very frightening. Um, when an entire planet is encountering a global change,
Yeah.
that's frightening.
That
And
could be frightening.
so yeah, like I understand the trepidation, but I guess in when I say I'm not scared, I'm not scared of the change for the better that can happen.
Mhm.
Um, and so, but yeah, what's going to happen in the in between of like when like the chaos could be, before. I don't know if you're into biodynamic farming, but to like farm your land and have nutrient rich soil, one way to do it is to spin your water in a vortex one way, and then you create chaos and you change the direction and you spin the water in the vortex the other way, and then you have the water to water your fields. And
Mhm.
so
What does the mainstream science have to say about that, and how do they explain it? Is it just a mystery to them, but you can understand it?
I think it's a bit of a mystery. A lot of people study these biodynamic farms and wonder why their produce is actually more nutrient rich than others. Um,
Mhm.
I think it's its own science. I think some of it's the water, some of it's also the crystals that they put inside the container that is spinning the water,
Ah,
and then the timing of when they put it on in like the moon sequence or the planetary sequence of when they actually water the fields. I think it's like lots of different things. So I don't know if it's definitely just the water, but I guess my point in mentioning that like vortex and chaos and then back into a vortex is that anytime things change, it's going to be chaotic, and then you'll be in a completely other direction you're going to be going, but it doesn't mean that it can't be in harmony again.
creative destruction, or
Yes.
Great.
creative, no, better, creative disruption.
Disruption, yes.
Yeah, yeah. You're reminding me of how there just in the last 20 years or so, farmers have discovered that cold plasma applied to farm fields can increase um vitality and productivity of crops. Have you heard about that?
I haven't, but I definitely something else I'm gonna write down
Yeah,
because
it's amazing.
yeah,
And I found that out
that
in
is amazing.
researching my book, and then darned if I didn't find out that in some ancient myths, dragons breathing, and again, they're reptiles, and there are dragon myths all around the world, even in places that don't have reptiles, like the Arctic.
Yeah.
So I think some of these same embodiments by the other consciousness of our life forms was happening back then. And there are myths about dragons breathing fire, plasma, looks like fire, onto fields, fallow fields, and suddenly they become fruitful again. So and it's fun. This great full circle we just discovered 20 years ago that cold plasma does that, and then these old myths bear that out. I was so excited to find that.
I feel like so many of the myths that are out, even like if you go into kind of like in Ireland, they talk about the elementals and a lot of, I don't know, different kind of creatures than what we're talking about, mythical creatures. Uh, uh, but I just really wonder if that's just those myths are passed down so that we will remember one day, and then once we remember, then you can open communication with those entities, because all it takes is us to have some heart mind coherence, and we can open up communication.
And also knowing that they're real and that it's more than possible, it's plausible, and in fact it's true. It's the same thing with sometimes it's like psychic performances. Like if you believe that it's possible to move, see, I have this, you see that? It's a piece of foil
Hmm.
underneath a plastic dome, and I'm trying to learn how to move it.
I love it.
And the idea is that if you, and I do believe, because I've watched a million things where people actually do move these, and move other things. The more you are, hate to say it, but the more you let the algorithm of YouTube help you out, the more it can. I've discovered more things through the algorithm, even though we're supposed to hate algorithms, than any other way. I find books that
It's
way. I
true.
find new researchers with fresh ideas that way, because they just kind of, if you,
Oh, you
you
went mute,
spend,
Chris.
what?
You've gone mute, Chris.
Have
Oh, I
I?
can hear him.
Uh-oh, you can
Hope
hear
I'm
me.
not mute.
I can hear you.
I
Can
wonder
you
if you
hear
can.
me?
Yeah, that's the
Zack?
question.
Oh no, my shit's gone mute.
Oh,
Can
Oh,
anyone hear me?
we can't hear you. Mm.
raise your hand if you can hear
I
him.
can't hear you.
Oh, I can hear him.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Okay.
my audio's gone.
Can we
Uh,
can we write him can we write him a text?
can we scribe him something?
That's
Speak,
Wait,
speak.
we must have, oh, we have chat. I'm gonna write on
Yeah,
chat.
there we go.
We can hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I don't think you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
How can we tell him to check his chat if he can't hear us?
It should pop up for him because it just popped up for me.
Oh, good. Let's see. Ah,
Um,
we're in
any
touch.
any tips? Don't
Jesus Christ.
use
I don't have
Zoom.
any tips.
I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
Hmm.
Uh, oh my
you,
gosh.
you could ask us questions.
Hello.
We can hear
I
you.
don't know.
Ask us questions by
But then
text.
he won't hear our
You
answers.
can hear me.
Oh yeah.
I can't hear you though.
Ah, dang.
We have to type all of our answers,
Oh
even if we're
no.
talking.
This is terrible.
I guess
Oh,
my
man.
speakers died. I can't hear you guys at all.
Check your connections. Here.
Your speaker didn't die. His earpiece.
Check your
Speaker, not
I
connection.
don't
microphone. Yeah, he's
know.
right. Speaker, not microphone.
Check my connections, but I have no connections.
Is it Wi-Fi?
Ah.
Is it Bluetooth?
Krystal, I think this is when you need to call in your higher connections.
I know.
I don't have any.
It's got to be Bluetooth.
Shake the cables around.
Yeah, totally.
Shake
Turn
And my fucking screen.
your
Shit.
Bluetooth on
Ah,
and off. I don't know. This is why I don't like
there
Zoom.
we go.
I've always found
Yeah,
it working for
I
me.
don't
This is
think I don't really know.
this is
what-
unusual for me. Does it often screw up for you, Krystal?
Well, this is what's ridiculous for me is I've learned that I'm a slider. I
Ah,
Oh, you mean
interact.
even with street lights, it happens?
Yes, like with
Oh.
everything. I
I've
like,
never met a slider before.
oh, it's so
we might
frustrating.
have to.
And
Yeah.
so my life with
Might have to
technology
give
is
up, I
constantly
guess.
something's always breaking, something's happening.
Um,
And I mean, it's to the point where I bought an electric car and I'm driving down the road and it just stopped working.
Oh,
Like,
no.
like, like
oh,
not even
motherfucker.
no, nothing, just stopped working. I had to get it towed, took it to the dealership. They ended up having to bring the person from Germany who
What?
built the car. They
Wait a
took it
second.
all apart and they put it all back together and they said we can't find anything wrong with any of the parts. We don't know why it just stopped working. And so I realized,
You of all people should know not to buy an electric car.
I know it was the dumbest decision I've ever made. And I really
Hello.
I learned that I needed to make friends with the car. So once I told the car, like I named it Evie for electric vehicle,
Yeah.
and I would get into
Sorry.
I would get into the car and I'd
Well, I'm
tell
sorry.
Evie that I loved her, and now my car works fine for
I can't
me.
hear you.
Isn't that bizarre? Did you tell the German guy that?
Oh yeah, I was like, the other thing I do is I drain batteries all the time. So I'm like going into the dealership saying my key doesn't work anymore. My key doesn't work anymore. They're like, we just gave you a new battery. I'm like, sorry.
Has that been throughout your life or just since
Yeah.
the 2010 thing?
No, that's been my whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And I didn't even know that it had a name. Like I didn't know it was called something until I was working with this guy who he's like a web designer, but he also practices magic. And after we were working on a couple different projects together, and he goes, "Oh my God, Krystal, you're a slider."
Hello?
And I'm like, "I'm a what?" Like, what are you talking about? And apparently other people, and then actually after getting to know Whitley Strieber, he's also a slider.
Oh, is
And
he?
yeah, and we
Wow.
had so much fun discussing things because he was telling me like one time he walked into his friend's house and their TV went dead, their radio went dead. And this was like in the 80s when like the stuff was really expensive. And they
Oh, so
told him,
this was before his first.
yeah, and they told him you can't come over again.
I was thinking it was gonna be that electric aspect got unlocked by your encounters. So you had him in childhood, so maybe it did. Maybe he had him in childhood.
Yeah, he did. It's been his
Okay.
whole life too.
That's
Yeah.
right. I've just remembered that he didn't remember, just like you and Thomas Campbell didn't remember the sort of apprenticeship that you went through.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been an interesting journey of remembering because I I remember like in 2007, I was telling a friend of mine this lost time story I had and just sitting around a campfire. And he goes, "Oh my gosh, I know what happened." And
There we go.
oh, can you hear us?
Hey,
Can you hear us?
I heard
Oh.
you for a second.
Mm.
Now
you
I hear
did.
you. I have to
Yeah,
hold
hear
up
us?
the string all the way behind my table. I don't know what the hell's going on. But
testing,
yeah,
testing.
now I can hear you again.
All right. Sweet.
So let me maintain this awkward posture and ask you another couple of questions. Chris, your book is so well written and so well researched, and the thesis about the so-called aliens being always reptilian or insectoid or humanoid is very compelling. Another interesting part was that, and I've often wondered, can you all hear me?
It goes in and
Okay.
out, but I can make you out.
Yeah, same.
So I've often wondered what's up with all the slag, like UFOs leave slag deposits. And in your book, you propose that the slag is to actually embody the craft. Please talk about that for a second.
I shall. I shall. Um, I don't know. There've only been a few debris. I mean, like UFO materials that have been recovered. So we're really in the infancy of that. And you know, Jacques Vallée and Gary Nolan have analyzed some of it, and they found a high proportion, usually of iron and magnesium. But regardless, I think that if it's true that they are essentially and in their default condition, their natural condition, invisible, like all consciousness is, with regard to our own eyesight, not invisible with regard to other
Right.
conscious agents who may not be embodied at the moment. But if it's true that they are invisible and that they've become manifest on Earth by embodying and animating matter, then I think they embody and animate minerals, metals, and make their craft out of these, and that they are propelled and defy gravity by this in the same way that psychokinesis works. Is you know, people in I think that seances, really genuine physical medium seances, are a microcosm of the entire global seance that the human race has been engaged in since the beginning. And I think that just like objects levitate in seances, they don't have a propulsion system. They're not working by warp drive or anything. They're simply being affected by consciousness, which can turn off gravity in some sense. I go into it in another book I have called UAPs in the Afterlife. But in any case, um, what am I saying? Oh, so I think they can forge these metal craft in a sort of a unitary body, not in pieces and parts with rivets and nuts and bolts. I think they forge them as unitary bodies, and they can fly around on the strength of consciousness, and that oh, what's the next part? Oh, many people, including that officer Wygant, who came upon one in Peru many years ago, and he says how it looked like it was made of skin. It looked organic and metallic at the same time. It was all. Many people have said this. All one solid body. And the Buga sphere recently seems to be one solid body too. No evidence of molding or what's the word, soldering or connections between the two um, hemispheres. And I think they just make them whole, just like they make a gray whole. They synthetically manufacture these things out of the raw materials they find on Earth. And so I think that when they dump, I think they recycle these metals. It's just my idea, my hypothesis. They recycle them. They dump sometimes the metals, and they gather replacement metal for some sort of a recycling process. And I think that's why they're so often seen going into volcanoes, which are an excellent source of iron and magnesium. They go in there, they re what's the word I'm looking for?
Constitute.
They reconstitute themselves.
Reconstitute.
Yeah, it's very good. They reconstitute themselves and then they fly out of the volcanoes. Some people think they have underground bases or cities in these volcanoes. I think they just go there and they reconstitute and they continue to fly around. And when the ship is no longer needed, I think it redisintegrates and consciousness reverts to its default condition of beyond our visibility threshold. And that they can't stay long, which is why they're not around much. You know, they're seen all over the world all the time, but 99.99% of the time they're not around. Probably add a bunch of nines to that. And so I don't think they have underground bases. I don't think we're going to find that. I think that they're, as I say, I think that they're naturally invisible in just consciousness. I think they just use the Earth material for their brief missions and their forays and their effort to manipulate us in the way that they do, and then they revert to pure consciousness. That's just my idea anyway. So I don't think we're going to find
Good one.
permanent bases
Like it.
underneath the ground. Oh, thank you, Zach.
I I
Please
intuitively,
disagree. We need some
yeah.
disagreement on this panel.
Well, I was gonna say intuitively, these underground uh and I'm not gonna call them bases. I'm gonna call them these underground communication systems, because I do believe that there is a network underground, whether it's an actual physical tunnel or an actual vessel for communication. It defies the need for travel across like distances physically, and I have some theories about it being mycelial in aspects,
Oh yeah, yeah, I
of
get you.
of some sort of myocopal like organization, some mushroom type
Like
organization.
analogous to the mycelium, but not literally the mycelium.
Maybe
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 both or
maybe it's
either.
both, yeah,
Yeah.
like maybe we know certain things about it, but either way I believe that underground and underwater, under our oceans, there are these communication systems, and they're communicating all the time, and they're communicating across vast distances of distance and time. Like time and space are like not the same. But I do believe that there is some sort of communication system and transfer of information, if not energy, if not like you're saying how it can, like when you said the ship goes into mountains, I was going to say it reactivates. And I think that there's something to do also, and I'm going to bring this back to water again, with water. These volcanoes usually have heavy amounts of glacier on them, and those glacial waters have been frozen for billions of years. Who knows how long some of this has been frozen, and what kind of information is in that water, what consciousness is in that water. Maybe that's how far back they have to go to reactivate whatever they need, or they're using it as a type of fuel or a type of energy.
You know,
But
you, that viewpoint is very well reinforced by lots of reports of not just them going into water, like Richard Dolan is all over now, but sucking up water. There's
Yes.
many reports of that. Like who is that that famous remote viewer who has that book called Penetration?
Oh, is that McMonagall?
No, it's
McMonagall?
the other one. Oh,
Monagall.
Swan.
Oh, Ingo Swan. Yeah.
Ingo Swan. He has that book, and I haven't read it, but apparently it has this extremely vivid account of a ship in some remote lake sucking up water
Mhm.
into itself.
Yeah. I've
What?
talked to someone who actually witnessed on the very far end of the north end of Lake Chelan in Washington State. Lake Chelan's a very long lake. It goes lots of but I believe it's glacier fed. And there was a friend of a friend. He was my friend's accountant, and and this is not someone who would think they saw a alien spaceship. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? It
yeah,
wasn't
yeah, yeah.
even part of his consciousness at all. And him and his friend were up at the north end of this lake. They were the only people around, and they were sitting by their campfire, and they both watched this ship. He said it was a spherical ship, long way this way, and it came down, sucked water up, or what they thought that's what it was doing, and then went away. But it was there for like 10 minutes, and him and his friend were just staring at it and like
I
kind
bet.
of paralyzed.
Yeah.
They didn't know what to do.
They probably
And
had their phones with them, but they didn't even think to take that. A lot of people don't.
no, because they're
Same
just
with
like,
Sasquatch. You're so fucking transfixed
yep,
that you can't even do it logically. You would later say, "Oh, why, why didn't I do that?"
exactly. Yeah, you just
Um,
kind of, I mean, and I think that's part of also because of where we're at in our consciousness. Like that literally blew those
yeah,
guys'
they're
minds.
circuits. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. And
yeah,
so it's true ontological shock.
yeah, exactly.
They don't even have words to tell each other what they just saw. They're
Right. That's
just,
why so often that they say all on the way back we didn't say a thing for five
yep,
hours. Yeah,
yep,
that's such a common trope.
totally.
Wow, that's so
Just
cool.
imagine. I mean, I've had my mind blown many times, things that I did not think
Well, that
could
that orb,
exist.
you probably didn't know how to tell it for a long time.
No, it was a mystery, but it was so real to me that I just like dove in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did. A lot of people would probably have resisted and gone that other direction.
Well, I think I resisted many times.
Oh,
And
you
then
did.
uh, what happened though in 2007 is I died, and I had this brain and spinal cord infection where I got a temperature of 106, and
Jeez.
I went into a coma. I don't think medically they said I died, but I went somewhere else. And I after that became much more open. And then it was about 3 years after that when I saw that orb. And so I think I was slowly being like,
Brought online.
yeah. And in that experience when I died, I came to these really welcoming and familial type beings that I was so excited to see. And it felt like very loving and just very like home. Like it really truly
I mean,
felt
talk
like
about remembering. That's what people always say with the NDEs, or almost always, is that they say, "Oh, that's right. This is where I live," you know?
yeah. But then what happened to me is they were like, get out. They're
You
like,
know,
you're
yeah.
not supposed to be
You've
here.
got so much to do,
And
including a podcast with Zack Kopp.
yeah, and I was so mad. I'm like, but
Yeah, but
so it just like it really rocked my world. I was like,
yeah.
God, like I thought you're my
I,
friends, guys, but
yeah, you seem so nice, and all of a sudden you're gonna
yeah.
see him again in 40 years or
Oh,
whatever.
totally. When the time's right, I
Yeah, yeah,
understand now. A lot of it makes sense now, but at the
yeah.
time, I was just like, what? What?
Did you tell people?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. And I
Zack,
think
we're cutting you off. We're having
No, I'm
such a fun
here.
time chatting that we forgot we're on a podcast.
I'm so glad. I apologize for dropping out of the chat myself for a
Not
minute.
your fault.
There were technical difficulties.
Yeah.
I heard Whitley say that you're a Sekhmet priestess. Is that correct, Krystal? I
yes.
I have a couple of good friends who are also disciples of Sekhmet or devotees, Ronnie Pontiac and the recently passed Tamara Lucid. Have devoted, continue to devote themselves to Sekhmet. So
Yeah.
right on, good for you.
I think that, one of the things with Sekhmet is the way uh the way that change happens is fiery. It's a very it's fiery. That's the only way I can describe the energy. And so when I talk about that chaos, it's a lot of that. It's just it's polarizing because I'm a water activator, but I also am very guided by Sekhmet. And so they're two different. I want to say two different sides of almost a uh, of my soul. I don't know.
Right.
Um, but yeah, fire and water.
What does it mean to be a water activator? Can you make it move? And
Yes, I can communicate with it, and I can help heal it. And that's the biggest part of my mission is healing. We're a species that has been very traumatized. We've been wounded many evolutions of our beings, and so healing is just a really big part of becoming what I call a galactic, um, to having galactic consciousness. So having these counterparts that are our galactic brothers and sisters, we need to heal in order to have that happen. And we're mostly water, and a lot of our water on our planet is sick, is has plastics in it, has
yeah.
nuclear thing. I don't need to go into all that. We know these things, but having that ability to heal and to just that's it, to heal.
Can you recommend like a documentary or a video or a book that about water that can get, because I'm really in elementary school with regard to.
Yeah. So I would say the best person to follow if you're on Instagram, her name is Veda Austin or Veda Austin, Veda. and she is from New Zealand, and she kind of has taken. If you are familiar with Dr. Emoto's work, Um, he was a Japanese doctor who realized that water holds consciousness. And he would say words to water and then take pictures of their crystallized form. And when he would say a word like love, it would have this beautiful geometric sequence. And then if he would say hate, it would just be blown out, like like kind of ugly. Like it wasn't nice looking. Then he would say different words to water and it would have a different pattern in it. And what Vita's done, or Veda, what she's done is she's developed this way that you take a petri dish of water and you can say a word to it, you can put it over a photo, you can do whatever intention you have, you put into that water, and then you put it in the freezer, and when it comes out, it is unbelievable. The just frozen petri dish after petri dish that her and all these people all over the world now do it. They'll take I saw this one that was the funniest one. It was a picture of Snoop Dogg, and the person put it over the picture of him, the petri dish, and when it like froze, in the picture he was kind of doing like a fist bump like this, and on his fist bump it said like his ring was like really big, but the photo, what froze was the little snapshot of the ring and the fist bump, and it was exactly like that, and it was like, whoa, because that motion was his intent, what he was communicating, and
Yes,
then the
exactly.
water
Picked up on
pinpointed.
that and replicated it.
Yeah. and
Wow. I
and
just found a YouTube video of an interview with her called The Secret Intelligence of Water.
yep.
Excellent.
And it's a 2.5 hour interview. I ought to be able to get on board up to speed a little bit.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I took her master class, and it was ironic because I was taking the master class as I was traveling through Egypt. And don't ask me why I decided to do an online master class while I'm also traveling. It's not smart, but I'd come
You're
back
trying
from
to
the
suck in as
temples.
much as you can.
Totally, I'd
You're a
come back from the
sponge.
temples and I was like, oh, I gotta watch this. So I feel like I need to do it again because I was so exhausted during that thing. But either
Yeah, yeah.
way, she's a fascinating woman, and I feel like she's taken now the study of water holding consciousness to just a new place that's exciting. She is talking about it all over the world, and people are really listening. It seems like it's
This
fascinating.
this might not be important to you, but her, what you're describing seems like it should be amenable to scientific confirmation. Like if it's replicable,
Yes.
and science is not always bad. Like for instance, the telepathy tapes has been filming this documentary all spring and summer, and they're just finishing the filming. And this documentary contains a more rigorous demonstrations of telepathy than were possible from the podcast. And so, in scientifically repeatable conditions, these
Yeah.
kids can do it. So, science doing confirmations of science isn't necessary for a certain cross section of the population, but it'll bring in a whole swaths of other people who weren't open to it before.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think Dr. Emoto and Vita's research has opened scientists' eyes to this idea of of water having consciousness. I believe this is a conversation that is happening in the scientific community.
Awesome.
I'm just not super tapped into it, the scientific community.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I wonder if it's. I mean, thought, consciousness, and thought it can make things. Just like I'm saying that the aliens can make their ships through it. I wonder if water is just particularly susceptible to being molded by consciousness, or if it's something that water inherently has in terms of
Mm.
consciousness. You would say the latter, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. I think that consciousness can mold water, but I also think it can mold plasma. I think,
Well, I mean, yeah, we've been agreeing about that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's a powerful thing, consciousness.
And with that, that's our exclamation point at the end of this.
Well, I have one more thing. I've been reading Carlos Castaneda book recently, and he talks about there's a whole series of chapters about the inorganic beings. And they're just like the grays. They're these
Ah,
beings, they want to understand life and death. They want to know what it is to feel and how what is a soul and all these things. And I remember, Krystal, when we spoke, you said you've been getting a lot of intuitive hits about integration. I wasn't sure if you meant just like to appear on a podcast or like integration of all the paranormal stuff into one thing, which is sort of what we're doing here. Um, and I just wanted to make that point about the Castaneda inorganic beings because I happen to be reading that book right now as we're talking about all this stuff. So it's either an example of, correspondence, or it's just an idea that does correspond, that is congruent to the same thing. And if aliens or aliens have been here all along, and it's a challenger consciousness, it makes sense that they would have the same desire down through time.
well, I got another part of that synchronicity for you, Zach. My father published books about Castaneda.
No kidding.
And yeah, I mean, he's gone now, but before he died, obviously, or not so obviously, given our conversation, he put out these two books. One is called Seeing Castaneda,
Interesting.
and the other is called The Soul of Shamanism, and that includes Castaneda a lot. So if you're interested,
What
maybe
was your father's first name?
that's a good question, Daniel.
Daniel. Noel. All right. I'll look
So they
into
may
it.
be out of print for all I know. It may be impossible to get them, but whatever. That's just another
And then
layer
and
to
then
the
there's and I'm
resonance.
also studying the Book of Thoth right now, a tarot deck designed by Aleister Crowley. And you guys have possibly heard about Iwas. He channels a being named Iwas in the Book of the Law. He draws a picture of it and it looks just like a gray alien. So
I don't.
it's always been with us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not to open a whole can of worms right before we're trying to be
Go
done with,
ahead.
but
Be
but
my
the
guest.
the Nazca mummies,
Oh yeah.
they're dead ringers. The little ones are dead ringers for the Greys.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
think that I think that even though these are manufactured like biological robots, I think they can die in a way. And I think that these mummies are examples that so far it seems to me of what people see that usually just disappear again, but sometimes apparently they can die and kind of their density can lock in place and then they
Mm.
can be, have their remains, their physical remains uh, can be with
It's
us.
rare though. I wonder why the rarity of it.
Yeah, there was some situation. Maybe there's caves full of them all over the world, and this was just the first time
Could
it's been
be.
found. But there was
Yeah.
some situation down in southern Peru back in the day, and this spanned the huge hands that have been found are carbon dated to 7,000 years ago,
Mm.
whereas the small gray type looking mummies are just 1,000 years or like between 1,000 and 700 years ago. So I mean, the mind reels at the possibility of millennia of crossover where these creatures and our own species were interacting,
For sure.
and for some reason they felt the need the Homo sapiens felt the need to preserve these creatures, or the creatures themselves wanted to be preserved for a
Mm.
future discovery. We just don't know the first of it.
Not yet.
I
But
definitely think without a doubt these interactions are not new. I think this has been going on for perhaps millennia, you know.
Forever. Yeah.
Um time is a construct that humans kind of make to count things, which can be useful. And it can bring people together like we're having right now, having a conversation, and it can be a tool, but I don't think that it exists exactly how we think it does.
Well, it doesn't exist for consciousness as such, you know,
Yeah,
consciousness pure, neither does distance. That's why
right.
I have a counterpart vision, not not at all against your vision, but just a counterpart about, I don't think they need any
Challenge your
system of
vision.
communication. I think that consciousness is non-local, and just like we can remote view something in a room in China right now, I don't think we need anything analogous to a physical system of like a network
Mm.
to
Yeah.
get there. I think the room in China is as much in front of my nose right now because of the vibratory information that's available as it is 7,000 miles away in China.
Hmm.
That's just my view.
So that's why I would challenge your view that that we can't travel to other planets, because in my mind I've been to other planets. I have remembrances of being on different planets, and I believe that there's a lot of similarities between forms and shapes. Sometimes colors are. I've been to a planet that I think is a home type planet where almost everything is a blue hue, and like just you just see shades of blue, I guess is a way to say it. And so but the even the plants look similar to earth, but they're blue, they're not green. um, but their form still is taking similar forms, and the beings are taking similar forms too. So it just makes me think that that sort of interplanetary travel is possible. um,
I don't think that, I think distance is an illusion. So in that sense, you could get to other planets. My only question is evolution, you know, and natural, and then the question we would, and we're not equipped to know right now. The question would be: are those that you've been to literal planets that we could see with telescopes, or are they
right.
planets that exist in the same way that the afterlife exists? You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that I don't know because sometimes,
Who can know?
yeah,
At this
it's
point, we're little babies.
we are.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Well, this has been so fun. I'm still trying to
Absolutely.
wrap it up.
I'm
My cat
glad you
needs to be
guys made
fed.
it.
She's agitating me. She's looking at me right from over the screen right now. She wants food.
Your cat.
Yeah,
Yours
it's.
mine too?
Have you ever taken your cat in an airport?
No, have you?
Oh my God.
Is it a nightmare?
Yeah,
Oh.
because my cat's like a wild animal.
Did
He's
you
just
sedate? Did you sedate her or him?
no,
Oh,
no, because
that's your problem. Yeah.
I know, because I was like worried. I thought, oh, it seems mean to do that,
I
you
know
know?
they wanted me to give mine gabapentin.
Yeah,
She had to go to the vet and they said, well,
Oh.
give her one gabapentin at night and then one in the morning. But when I woke up in the morning, she was so
yeah,
flaccid that didn't have the heart to give her the second one, and they got all mad at me and everything.
yeah. I know. I just didn't have the heart to do it. So yeah,
Yeah.
we just did it, and I mean we made it, but we still have 2 more flights to take them on before we get to Puerto
Oh
Rico.
no.
So
Do you stuff him under the seat in a carrier?
yeah,
And does he yowl the whole way and everybody's
just
pissed
during
off?
takeoff, he really did not like that, and then there was a little turbulence as we were coming into Austin. There's like a freak, one of those like thunder and lightning storms.
Yeah.
So it got really bumpy, and he started kind of freaking out during that too. But then, other than that, he's actually surprisingly just
Chill.
very chill. Just
Yeah.
was like kind of almost in the corner of the carrier, like
Yeah.
in a ball.
I'm glad he didn't have a heart attack. God, it was so traumatic. They don't know what's going on.
I know. I was like telepathically telling him,
Oh,
if you
good.
want to stay with us, this is what we have to do.
Right. So he understood. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Probably the other passengers couldn't even hear him to be
Uh-uh.
annoyed by it because it's so
No.
loud in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was probably the only one. My husband
Yeah.
could kind of hear sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, are we talked out? Thanks to both of you so much for showing up.
We're just scratching the surface.
Oh, I know.
Well,
I think
I
we could
could keep
probably talk
going.
for hours.
Yeah.
I have to take a bathroom break, but we don't have to end right now.
Oh, that was just a figure of speech.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
that's
agree because I've got yeah,
Tons to do. You're in the middle of moving.
totally. I can't. I
Thanks
don't even know what I'm
again.
supposed to be doing, but I know that I'm supposed to. There's some stuff I gotta get
Yeah,
done.
you know there is. Yeah.
Thanks again. Let it be an activation rather than a distraction or a diversion.
Awesome.
Well,
Thanks for coming. Thank you, Chris. Go ahead. What?
let's all three stay in touch.
Absolutely. We
I'm
can.
not on any of these fancy newfangled communication things like Instagram. I just have email and Facebook.
Well, Zach, could you send an email to all three of us, and then we can
Yeah,
do
There you
that?
go.
when I've got a recording, I'll share it with you all and we can reconvene in the future perhaps, or just stay in touch.
Okay.
And I hope you both have an excellent day. Thanks for coming.
All
Thank
right.
you
Thanks
so
for
much
having
for
me.
facilitating this, Zach. It was a
Absolutely.
pleasure.
Yeah, it was lots of
Absolutely.
fun.
Do you know that
All
Zach
right.
and I have known each other for half a century? No, how long ago were you?
Time. I don't know, like 2000 and something.
He was in the program I
2006.
taught in the writing program
That's
in
so
Vermont.
cool.
In Vermont many years ago, many years ago. Anyway,
Well, thank
True.
you for. I'm grateful for being brought into your guys'
Thanks for
conversation.
joining.
club, the boys club.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's
Yeah,
it's
Absolutely.
always. I love. Yeah, no, this is what I need to do more of.
Me
well,
too.
good luck
Let's
with
do
your
it
move.
again.
Good luck with your move. I'll
Thank
send
you.
good vibrations your way.
Awesome.
Seconded. Best luck with the move.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, everyone have a great day.
All right.
Shut
Bye.
down.
Bye.
Bye.